Now, today takes the race away from the Pyrenees on a stage that looks designed for a scenic breakaway through the Tarn and the Haute-Languedoc National Park from Blagnac to Rodez, but with a GC sting in the tail. An early sprint, 2 small climbs and a sharp kick up towards the line on the Côte Saint-Pierre that would suit the likes of Dan Martin if only he could ride out of the saddle. This is how he looks when he does get out of the saddle at the end of the day. It'd be almost comical if it wasn't so painful, and it makes it all the more astonishing that he managed to attack and take time from the yellow jersey group yesterday while riding the whole stage seated. But Dan Martin fights on after his stage 9 crash. 2 more men abandoned yesterday, Jakob Fuglsang and Arthur Vichot, so 177 rolled out of Blagnac this morning. And before we get on with the stage, one last word on Team Sky from rider turned reluctant spectator Geraint Thomas, watching at home and calling in to give us his appraisal of Mikel Landa.
He's such a quiet guy, relaxed and chilled, and he doesn't like the pressure too much. Like when, riding as in the shadows, so to speak, of other guys in the team, that's when he performs the best. And when it comes to trusting him, I think he's certainly helped me in the Giro at times, and I think he is committed to the team, and I don't think he'd go out of his way to flick anyone. I think he's fully behind the team, and having him close up there on GC now is going to be good. It's just going to give it that extra option. It's as we saw yesterday, no other teams have teammates there, so. We'll certainly have numbers come the end, and can certainly use that to advantage, and hopefully they do, and hopefully it comes off.
Now here's a novelty. Christian Prudhomme didn't just drop the flag today, he predicted, or perhaps ordered, the first attack. Now, another of the usual suspects, Thomas Gent, got across to Werkle quickly with Timo Rosen and Maxime Bouet, and they were eventually joined by Reto Hollenstein. At the front of the main field, there was a full rolling roadblock in operation, formed by BMC, Sunweb, Sky and one Astana rider. BMC and Sunweb's willingness to control things, a clear sign that they believe in the chances of Greg van Avermaet and Michael Matthews, respectively, on today's uphill finish. At the intermediate sprint, the breakaway wiped out the points from 20 down to 11, and Marcel Kittel took 10 to Michael Matthews' 9 behind them, boosting his lead in the green jersey competition from 128 to 129. We pick up the race on the run-in to Rodez.
45 kilometres remaining, 1:39, the advantage of 5 men out front, but signs now that De Gent and Werkle are starting to get a little bit anxious. Not anxious, but they're waiting for their moment to pounce. So what have we got in between here and the finish line? Well, pretty soon they are going to descend quite sharply to the foot of the second categorised climb, the Côte de Centres, or Centre. They start to climb that at 38.8 kilometres and go over the top of it at 36.5. Then it's rolling roads, a little bit of descent with a 15k to go. There's another Cat 2, this time uncategorised climb that's probably steeper than either of the categorised climbs, and then they start to drop down into Rodez before it kicks up again. Maxime Bouet is done for the day on the next categorised climb, 2.3%, the Côte de Centre, and that's it for Bouet. His 3rd breakaway of the Tour de France, and that's the end of it. And it looks like the big Swiss time trialist is just dropping off the wheels as well. No big surprise that there, as Werkle sets the pace on a reduced group now. It looks like Hollenstein might have a real battle on his hands, because there's still 2k of climbing to get over to that wheel of Timo Rosen, although at this point he's just about hanging on. That's the front of the peloton, Laurens ten Dam and Jaco Venter and Warren Barguil now in the polka dot jersey. So Sunweb with dimension data right at the front of the peloton and driving things on. Very much for Michael Matthews, and in Jaco Venter's case, Edvald Bosenhagen.
Look at Thomas De Gent's just drive, even for Claire's hanging on for dear life now, which is good because Thomas De Gent is forcing his pace, and Marcel Kittel's getting spat out. But he's got Sabatini there, who's going to stay with him from now on, it looks like. And as we'll see, 37 k's from the finish, quite a few riders will think this is a safe place. They can get dropped now. They'll find a group, they'll find allies, and to take them, just getting a nice rolling group to get to the finish and limit the losses.
Timo Rosen's done extremely well to be part of that selection that's been forced by Thomas De Gent, as the breakaway group almost halves in size. I think we've seen the last of Reto Hollenstein and definitely Maxime Bouet, who was, for all the world, signalling like he was sitting up and waiting for the peloton. Hollenstein might still be battling up, but there's still a kilometre of climbing at an average gradient of over 7% to come. Rosen's really struggling now, really having to dig extremely deep. De Gent just looks so rock solid. His position always just a slight bob from left to right, and Vauclair, well, he looks
he was just testing Rossen there, just to see how bad he was, see if he was going to take De Gent's wheel. He realised that he was genuinely in trouble, so he sprung back into life and got on De Gent's wheel. But I think that was just a little test of Vauclair to see how bad Rossen really was, see if he was playing his own games. Look at the wind at the top, so this is the problem here. Not only do you come over the top in the red zone, you then go over onto the crest and down into a crosswind section, so the intensity continues. You don't get any respite. Now we have two breakaway specialists with two completely different styles. Thomas De Gent relies on brute force and his ability to wear people down, whereas Thomas Vauclair relies on his ability to catch people out, to outplay them psychologically and tactically. So we're going to have quite... In an ideal, this is the perfect situation, Thomas Vauclair, because he knows Thomas De Gent is just going to try and ride him off the wheel, which means he's got almost a free, another engine that he doesn't even have to play tactically with, because he knows how Thomas De Gent rides.
So confirmation that De Gent will finish the day in second place in the King of the Mountains competition. Still 58 points behind Warren Barguil, but with loads of points in the mountains still to come. Barguil has not won that jersey yet, and De Gent might still choose to have a say in the outcome, the final outcome of the King of the Mountains competition.
Oh, look at De Gent. He's just going so hard there. Vauclair's just hanging on for dear life. This is what I was talking about, the two different tactics.
So, two very familiar faces, two very familiar names head the race. They've got 1 minute and 45 seconds over the chase being orchestrated at the moment by Sunweb. If this four manage to stay away, which is a big if with 8.9 kilometres to go, it's quite a hard call between Niki Asante and Damiano Caruso. Caruso, much more of a pure climber, an excellent climber, but not necessarily suited to this explosive 600 metres. This man, however, has a track background. Niki Asante is a sprinter, but he's a rangy sprinter and he's capable of getting up short, sharp climbs.
Niki Asante doesn't have to do anything now. He just has to make sure that he doesn't get dropped on the climb, and then he will beat them if he can get there with 200 metres to go still on the wheels. They got another attack. Unfortunately, a skill rider going.
So it's Pierre-Luc Perrichon, who clearly was thinking the same thoughts that we were just articulating about the quality of riders that he's got in that group of four, thinking his only chance now is to attack long range, but it's very ambitious with the quality of riders coming across to his wheel. What is that advantage? Maybe 7-8 seconds, not much more than that. That's a very reduced group, 140 metres separating the peloton from that quartet, who've got themselves together a little bit, or rather, Pierre-Luc Perrichon has got himself together and everyone else is just sitting on his wheel.
Now this is interesting. So this again, even BMC and Sunweb who are in there, those two riders, their sole job now is to work for they're representing Michael Matthews. Caruso going again, so he's in a counter-attack, but Quick Step are taking the front, so Philippe Gilbert must be feeling good. Dan Martin, normally I'd say this would be a great finish for him, but the problem is with his injuries we don't really know.
Well, Maurice Lamatic is a punchy kind of climber. He's the Katusha Alpecin rider, the young Dutchman who has signed from Roompot, the pro-continental team, to Katusha Alpecin this year. The yellow jersey quite a long way back. Fabio Aru under a little bit of pressure and trying to reposition himself in the peloton.
I think that's Jack Bauer from Quick Step who's coming up to take over again. Steve Bauer on his wheel. So Quick Step really are now. They must be dedicating this to Philippe Gilbert, which is great to see, because that does mean we've got Philippe Gilbert versus Michael Matthews versus Greg Van Avermaet. Those three going head to head. I mean, that's a rare sight.
They're massing towards the front. It's the first glimpse of Michael Matthews. He's got one rider in front of him. He's in the white jerseys with the black shorts, and there are two Sunweb riders towards the front, and Edvard Bosenhagen clearly visibly there as well. A wave of anger from within that peloton directed towards the motorbike, who they feel is just aiding Moritz Lamatic at this point to stay away. 3.8 kilometres to go, and Jack Bauer and Zdenek Stybar are setting this up for Philippe Gilbert. There's a glimpse of the big favourite and last time the winner into Rodez from 2015, Greg van Avermaet. He's sitting in third place, is he, on the road? Then, well, there's a yellow jersey towards the front. I think Chris Froome still being positioned towards the front. Just one thought about the general classification, because there could be little gaps between the GC favourites. With everybody so tightly packed in the general classification, a few irritating seconds on this steep climb up here is exactly what they want to avoid. So they'll be in the mix as well today.
Exactly. You see the GC riders, we've just saw Chris Froome moving up, and they have to be at the front here because it can split apart. And as I said, because it's been such a difficult run-in, they've been going such a high speed, it's been whittled down. Everyone's tired. At this point in the Tour de France, 2 weeks in, the gaps can open up anywhere. It's not like the first week. So Chris Froome, we'll see. Now, Fabio Aru, we need to see. He was so far back before. I haven't caught a glimpse of him in this first seat. Still can't see Aru. Still can't see Aru, so which means he's an awful long way back, way too far back for a finish like this. Whereas we can see Chris Froome there, he's the second Sky rider. So we've got Kwiatkowski in front of him, and then Chris Froome behind Kwiatkowski. So they're in prime positioning. Aru, on the other hand, nowhere to be seen.
And they're looking round to see where the yellow jersey might be. This is a situation that Team Sky can exploit. That's one plot to look out for. Look out for Froome and Aru. Don't forget they're separated by 6 seconds in the general classification. And that's just a subplot. But wait, we've got the stage victory at stake here. And Jack Bauer and Quick Step Floors believe in Philippe Gilbert.
There he is. There's Aru right to the back. So you can just see it, just to the back of the screen there. Now, that's at this finish like this, that could easily become 6 seconds. Now, I know Aru can overtake a lot of those people in this final section, but if Chris Froome decides to really push it with Kwiatkowski, and they could be racing, they have to race as if they're racing for the stage win, and they might find themselves taking 6 seconds out.
All right, there's also John Degenkolb with the white jerseys and the red helmets in about 10th place, just on the right-hand side of the road. You can glimpse him there, Edvald Boasson being positioned once again by Reinhard Janse van Rensburg on the right-hand side of the road. He's got one man left. Aru is still pinned further back down the line, and Chris Froome is exploiting that situation. You can see the two Sky riders, Kwiatkowski and Froome, weaving their way up the left-hand side of the road. 1.3 to go. Not long now before we dip down and hit this right-hander, and then the road rises very steeply.
And Kwiatkowski's job now he's on Chris Froome's wheels. He's trying to come over the top of him again, and even Kwiatkowski, you can see even he's going deep, which goes to show. And now the problem Aru has is that the riders in front of it, a lot of them will just sit up, so gaps are going to open everywhere, and this is why you have to be at the front in a finish like this. Look at Chris Froome, positioned perfectly at the moment. I think that's Philippe Gilbert who's just behind him. So you see two riders, the quick step right at the bottom of the screen, that's Philippe Gilbert, one of the riders that will be racing for the stage win today. So Chris Froome's up there with those guys. At the moment, there's Bardet just behind them. So just crosses the midsection. They're going to do the right-hander now.
Froome nearly running out of room there and just has to negotiate his way past Janse van Rensburg. Meanwhile, Oliver Naesen hits the front. The Belgian national champion tries to go on a long one, Oliver Naesen, powering his way up the climb. He has the front of the race at the moment. Philippe Gilbert exposed on the front with Greg van Avermaet on his wheel. And then comes Michael Matthews, and alongside him, John Degenkolb. So all the usual suspects now are getting into position. Edvald Boasson is still there. They hit the steepest section. It continues to rise now for 200 metres in the finishing straight now. Not far to go. Gilbert's in the worst possible place. If he wins, it's going to have to be the ride of the rawest power imaginable. Can they get round his wheels? Splits are emerging further back down the lines. We feared they might. Keep your eye on that. But now watch for Greg van Avermaet. He's pinned to the wheel of Philippe Gilbert. Here comes Edvald Boasson. One last lunge. He looks like he's on the limit. And now Michael Matthews picks his moment. Comes past Van Avermaet, does he? Van Avermaet just about holding off the Australian, but Matthews is going to get there. Now the road just about shallows out a bit, and you'll look round and you'll know that Van Avermaet is going to have to settle for second best. Matthews takes a win, Van Avermaet in second place. Edvald Boasson crosses the line in third. Now, there's the yellow jersey of Fabio Aru. We are counting the seconds. 7, 8, 9, 6... there. So now he is over the point where the yellow jersey is changing hands. Chris Froome will be in the yellow jersey at the end of the day. Fabio Aru has ridden a horrible race there, and he has lost the jersey on stage 14 of the Tour de France. He is out of the race lead. Froome positioned himself perfectly on a climb. He knows very well. He finished in 6th place there last year, and he read that to perfection, and he has hurt Fabio Aru and wrestled the lead of the Tour de France away from Aru and away from Astana. but Michael Matthews justified his favouritism, and for the second day in succession, Sunweb delight their fans, and an Australian takes over from where Warren Buggy left off this time yesterday.
That was a phenomenal win from Michael Matthews. We had him down as the favourite, and he delivered. And his team rode all day, and the way he rode that was perfect. Philippe Gilbert went quite early. I think Philippe Gilbert doubted a bit. There's Philippe Gilbert. He'd gone too early, but I'm not sure if he was so confident. And look at Michael Matthews. I talk about a lot of lucidity. He's checking the gap. He waits. Look at the jump. He jumps over Greg Van Avermaet and Philippe Gilbert, and completely overpowers him to the point where once he comes around this corner, the left-hander, he looks behind again, looks through his legs. He sees he's distancing, looks behind. He's sitting up about 40 metres, 50 metres from the finish. He won't stop pedalling, just making sure. That's why they call him Bling.
Yes, he could easily have had a time gap on the line if he'd cared. He and Van Avermaet did have 1 second on Edvald Boasson-Hagen and a small group containing Chris Froome, Dan Martin and Rigoberto Urán. Romain Bardet and Simon Yates conceded 5 seconds to the winner, 4 to Froome and co. Mikel Landa lost 15, Nairo Quintana and Alberto Contador 22, Louis Meintjes and Fabio Aru 25, more than enough for Aru to lose the race lead and bring about the return of the never-ending presentation-delaying post-stage leaders warm down behind the podium. While Chris Froome's doing that, let's hear from the teammates who put him in position for the finale.
You know, we really looked at that final. We looked at the video of 2 years ago when Greg won here, and we said, you know, it's got to be a lead out into that climb. It's got to be, you know, we've got to be right at the front here, and there will be splits. And we really looked at it, but I haven't actually seen the final, but it sounds like the lads did a great execution of the plan, and yeah, like I said before, just great to have Froome back in yellow.
I've seen Haru was far behind, and I was screaming on the radio actually that just go to the finish, and yeah, it's how it is, you know. On the tour, you need to be a complete rider, and especially with such a final, without the team, it's difficult to be up there in the front. And we all happy as Jersey back again on Froome's chest, and that's amazing, you know. We didn't lose any morale after we lost the jersey, and we were really fighting yesterday and today as well. So we all happy, yeah.
You know, I think we've given up the yellow jersey once, and I've seen a pretty disappointed Froome when he had to hand that yellow jersey over, and he won't want to do it again.
The Astana inquest, meanwhile, will focus on how he was allowed to get it back. Here's Sky's last man, Kwiatkowski, keeping Froome right up at the front with 5 kilometres to go. And if you wait long enough, here's Aru on the left of picture, on his own, in the wind, trying to move up from too far back.
Cos'è successo, Fabio?
Ma ho preso lo strappo un po' troppo indietro e ho fatto, anzi, si è fatto il buco prima dell'ultimo chilometro, ero un po' indietro e quindi ho fatto uno sforzo troppo grosso per riaccodarmi al gruppo, e poi quando hanno accelerato ho preso il buco. Oggi è capitata a me, un altro giorno può capitare a qualcun altro.
Senti, come mai questa posizione arretrata è dovuta a cosa?
Capita, insomma, sono situazioni di corsa e l'importante, insomma, è continuare per la propria strada.
Now, the green jersey didn't change hands today. It couldn't have mathematically, but Michael Matthews at least sneaked inside 100 points of Marcel Kittel to keep the race alive and take a well-planned, well-executed stage win.
We rode all day, and yeah, when we kept the breakaway so close, I knew it was going to be hard to have a lot of teammates in the final there, because we had to ride quite hard to bring to get back. But yeah, we rode all day, and we were still able to have 2 or 3 guys with me there in the final. So yeah, it was the perfect day.
And a pretty good one for the new race leader.
Chris, congratulations. You knew that stage finish, and you knew how insidious it could be.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we did this 2 years ago, and we saw some pretty big time gaps there with Greg Van Avermaet and Peter Sagan going over the line. And we knew there were going to be time gaps today, but I didn't expect that. I mean, it's just, yeah, incredible to be back in yellow, especially after a tough day in the Pyrenees a couple of days ago. To come bounce back like this now feels amazing. I mean, I've got to thank the team today. The only reason I'm back in yellow is because of the way they rode that final. always at the front. It meant that I was out of trouble and had the best lines through the corners. Meant that I got to that last climb and had the legs to be able to follow the front guys.
And Michał Kwiatkowski had a special role there, not just riding but also screaming.
Oh, he's been just amazing this whole race. He's everything we've asked of him. He's done it and more. And today again, just in the final, just in the last few hundred meters, he was just shouting in the radio, just saying, "You've got a gap, just push all the way." It's just such a great feeling.
Now, Sky have been leading the team classification for a while, but today was the first time we saw them on the podium en masse, which seemed like an apt way to end the results sequence.